Hi there, it's March 2021 and this is a roundup of new features and improvements to Terra's workflow execution capabilities that have happened over the past year. One of the most requested features this year was to make it easier to delete intermediate files produced by workflows to cut down on storage costs. We added an option to do exactly that in the workflow configuration page, and there's also a way to clean up intermediate files after the fact. We've also added some checkpointing functionality to support resuming workflow tasks from a safe state, which makes it safer to use preemptible VMs for long-running tasks. On the workflow input configuration front, we now provide bundles of popular genomics reference files for your convenience. And as an added bonus, we make them available on a persistent disk that cuts down on transfer times and related overhead for tasks that use any of those files. Speaking of data inputs, we added some options for selecting what data you want to run on without having to create TSV files outside of Terra. This includes an option to select rows in a table and have the system automatically create a new set from the selection, which is especially useful for small-scale testing. Terra now supports access to data repositories that use the GA4GH Data Repository Service, which we pronounce DRS. DRS allows us to use object identifiers instead of actual file paths to bucket locations, which is useful for several purposes, including multi-cloud operation. Conveniently, Terra handles the process of resolving these identifiers into actual file paths for you, so you can just put in identifiers where you would previously have put in file paths. In another big win for interoperability, the Dockstore tool repository added support for relative paths in WDL workflows that import code from other WDL files. This is a major step forward for enabling code reuse, which you can see in action in several of the Broads pipelines in the Warp repository on GitHub. Finally, the Open WDL organization released an update to the WDL language specification. Version 1.1 adds flexibility for working with arrays, pairs, and maps that you might find useful if you write your own workflows. To learn more about these new capabilities, you can find links to the relevant documentation in the video description on YouTube or the accompanying blog post. Enjoy!